Okay, welcome everyone to the 2020 APEC Groundbreakers Virtual Tour by Apaco UC. This year, our event will be the biggest one ever done with 174 sessions, including normal sessions, workshops, and hands-on labs from 123 different speakers over 11 days. Also, it will cover sessions on 4 different languages. Please remember to register to as many sessions you can, and all sessions will be available to replay as many times you want for 2 weeks after the initial session date and time. You can also you can also interact with the speaker at any time during that 2 weeks by posting questions and comments directly in the playback session. Basically, after this session, or a few hours after that, the playback session will be available in a dedicated page, and you can watch the video. You can also make questions, post comments to the speaker to respond later at his convenience. I would like to say thanks to all Oracle user groups and Java user groups that made this event possible, and also to the sponsors, Oracle Groundbreakers and CloudDB. Now for today's session, innovative and best designs in Oracle Cloud Infrastructure by Narasimharao Karanam. Hopefully I tried to get that right. Um, If you have any questions during his session, please feel free to use the Q&A option in the webinar for make all the questions during the session, and the speaker will be answering them at the end of the webinar. If you have any technical issues or anything you want to ask the moderator, myself, please use the chat to interact with me. Basically, use the Q&A option to make questions to the speaker. He will be answered at the end of the session, or use the chat option to make questions to the moderator. Now, without any more delays, I would like to leave you with this amazing session by Narasimharao Karanam. Hopefully, I spelled that now better the second time. Thank you so much, and I leave you with the speaker now.
Great. Thanks a lot, Francisco. Hope my voice is clear. So welcome to my session. It's all about innovative and best design in Oracle Cloud Infrastructure. Before proceeding to the session, so I'm representing Doensis, and Doensis is an IT consulting company where we are the Oracle shop. We have about 250 plus team strength with 91% certified professionals. We are located in US, India, and as well as Canada. We primarily focus on Oracle technologies, and we have 3 main pillars: package application, software development, and software services, where we focus on Oracle e-business suite, Fusion, Apex development, custom development, Oracle Cloud, and Oracle database administration. We have been delighted top customers, top tier customers: Amazon, Data Intensity, Weight Watchers, 1-800-Flowers. So those are the very key customers for us. One thing that our Doensis always focus on is sharing the knowledge. We have our own blog, blogs.doensis.com. You can visit at any time. And we encourage all our employees to write books and share knowledge across the globe. So below are the few books that we have written. RPA, Oracle Apex is Data Secure, Just Relax DBA, Human Equal to Possibility, Fly to Cloud, and REST API. Now about myself, I've been in the industry for past 15 plus years. Majorly worked on Oracle technologies, Oracle e-business suite, 11.9, R12, database, older versions, and as well as the cloud technologies. I'm a certified architect and as well as a certified database administrator. Primarily focusing on the projects, mainly on the Oracle Cloud technology. So this session is all about sharing my knowledge on what kind of customer requirement that we have received and how we design them. So the key takeaway for this session will be, though the primary focus will be on the design in the OCI, but in order to understand like how to make the design, how will you end up with such good designs, you should know how the cloud migration flow goes, and you should know what are the options and features that you should take advantage in Oracle OCI. And and also we'll be discussing about few key designs, I would say, not few, it's key designs, where you will understand, okay, what are the options, what are the possibilities that you can take and design your targeted infrastructure. And finally, we'll be touch base on the multi-cloud infrastructure, like when and how we can use of hybrid cloud or multi-cloud infrastructure. Now let me start my session. So the first thing that we're going to see is the migration flow. This is pretty common flow that you may already be aware. If you are into a project, or if you have been doing any migrations, or if you are moving your data center, or if you're doing any projects, you'll already been seeing this flow, right? But what I want to focus on is where you will give importance to your design. Okay, so we primarily we have 5 phases. One is baseline and define, where you will define your target. So why I am migrating to cloud, what is the benefit that I want out of moving to cloud. And the second thing that we use, okay, I have my goals ready, now what should I do? I should design my targeted objective. So I should design and plan how I am going to migrate to cloud. And then the third phase will be migrate, where you will do the actual or the test migration, and then ensure that all your expected results are in OCI. And then the fourth stage is you will allow your business users to do your validation. And finally, the production will go live. This is pretty common phases which any project or any migration project will follow. But today's session, we will be focusing on each phases, where the architect should focus on what kind of how much level of importance you should do with respect to design. Okay, so as I mentioned before, the baseline is all about defining your goals, making it very clear that what you're going to achieve by migrating to cloud. That also includes your requirements. So if your requirements are not clear in the define or baseline phase, it's very difficult. There will be a lot of gaps will be there in the designing of OCI. So you have to make sure that before you start your design, give importance to your requirements as well as your goals. You should be very clear. Like for instance, what is my if I am designing my DIA, what is my RPA, what is my RPO, and I should know that how many instances I should have and why should I have, what kind of high availability, like should I have load balance, like how many users are going to connect, how many concurrent users, what will be the peak period for the business, and what kind of modules and how the data flow goes. Like if there any external connectivity will be there. Those inventory, those portfolio should be registered when you do a baseline and define phase. Basically, it's nothing but your inventory of inventory or portfolio of your application should be ready before you start your design. During the design phase, now I have my goals ready, I have my inventory ready, I know what I'm going to do, I know what is the goal that I'm going to achieve by moving to cloud. So then I should sketch my design. I should start planning, like, okay, how my targeted infrastructure is going to be, what level of security that I should have, and what is my network going to be. Is there any external dependencies are there? And like how many applications that I'm going to migrate, right? So I talked about two things here. One, from the architect standpoint, you will be focusing on the design, where how many, what is the targeted infrastructure is going to be, and how am I going to migrate, right? But on the project management standpoint, your the timeline it's going to take, and how many applications that are there, and how much of effort is needed, that is something that you have to plan during the design and plan phase. Okay, so here there is one recommendation with respect to design and plan phase. See, generally any architect, how they follow is like they design it, and then they either they leave it to the team and then do it. But what is recommended is better to have a dry run during the design or cluster phase. Okay, reason is that will give a clear view of whether is there any patching needs to be done in the design, or is there something that it works as expected. You will have a clarity in the design phase itself. The one more reason for that recommendation is if there is a gap, okay, if there is a gap in the design, it is better to get it fixed then and there during that initial stage itself. Move on to the migrate phase. So here, this is the first stage where you will do your actual dev migration or test migration, where you will migrate your applications. What are the targeted applications you will migrate to the cloud? The key thing that you want to take with respect to this particular phase from the architect standpoint is what kind of cloud features that I want to take advantage of, because there are a lot of cloud features are available. We will be discussing few of them in the coming slides. So during the migrate phase, though the actual migration is going to take place with respect to dev or test, you should focus on what kind of cloud features are there and how can I take advantage of what what are all the automations that I can do. I can target to do in my production, so you can test those in your non-prod environment. As per the normal flow, you have to focus on your test scripts, as well as the design needs to be evaluated against the targeted goals. Now coming to the validate phase, this is where your UAT or the user acceptance, business acceptance will start. The key thing that we would highly recommend with respect to the validate or UAT phase is, keep in mind, always try to do UAT in the targeted production infrastructure. For instance, if if the design is frozen, okay, so you should create your production infrastructure during the UAT phase itself. You should do the UAT creation in the targeted production infrastructure, so that what will happen is, if in case of any issues before you go live, everything those can be fixed in the UAT phase itself. Like for instance, if you are using e-business suite, you will have a printer configuration. You will have your interfaces will be there, whether the IP tables is being secured, whether it is able to communicate to the targeted instances, like with respect to interfaces, and whether the functionality like any third-party tools are working properly. Those stuff can be tested before we take it live. One more recommendation with respect to the validate phase. When you do a user acceptance test, we highly recommend to do your DR drill before you go live, if the time permits. If you have enough room to do the DR drill, it is better to test your DR or a targeted DR design in the UAT phase itself. If the time generally people always focus on, once a UAT test is done, you have to take it to go live. That's normal practice, but it's always recommended, if you can do a DR drill before you take it to go live, that's good. Reason is, there is if in case of any gaps with respect to the DR design, or like for example, if you want to fix any your parameters, database parameters, or any connectivity needs to be fixed, that can be fixed during the UAT phase itself. Now coming to the go live. So once the environment went live, technically you will be wiping off your UAT and then you'll be creating if you follow the recommendation. So you'll migrate your production and then you'll enable the cloud features, automated, and as well as you'll also evaluate. There should be always an audit or inspection should be there before you release. So as part of cutover, yes, you will be doing your validation. That is true, but there should be a checkpoint saying like, okay, well, this is my targeted goal, and am I achieving it in my production? Whether the production is as expected as per my goal, that inspection should happen during the go live. That's good to have. This is cloud infrastructure. You already know about it if you're attending the session. So it's all about OCI. OCI is all about Oracle Cloud Infrastructure. It's very good investment from Oracle. A lot of innovative and new designs have been, like new features have been released every week with respect to compute, network, storage. Oracle is giving high importance to our customers. They are hearing a lot of good feedback from the customers, and they are making more improvements in OCI. So let's look into the design one. So this is a cost-effective design. Before I start, I'll mention that reason why is you will understand when I start explaining about the design. Before that, there is a small disclaimer that I have to want to highlight here. See, all the design that we are going to explain, or all the functionalities or features that we are going to explain, may not be applicable for all the environments. Okay, so it is you who are going to decide whether it is a best fit for you, or is it something that you can make changes and then make use of it. That's up to you. But keep in mind that this will not 100% fit your all the environments, all the customer environments, or all your IT environments. Okay, coming to the design. So here, what we have done is with respect to database, you can have a 2-node instance. Okay, 2-node. In one node, you will have your database, active database running, and in the same node, you can have your application passive node. Basically, you can rsync it and then keep it. Okay, or you can have your shared NFS. You can have your FSS configured and then use it with the other node also. Okay. Now on the other node, you will have your passive rack 1 node, which will have the active applications. Okay. So basically, you need to script in such a way that if in case there is any issues with respect to rack 1 node, basically the active node, it should get failover into the passive node. Same for the applications also. If you have your active applications, there is some issues, you should script it or make it in such a way that it falls back and then start up the services in the passive node. Okay, the key things that you have to keep in mind is register or create your listeners or application services in the secondary VNIC, so that if you are doing any failover concepts come in between, it will help you to move these VNIC and then bring up these services. Now on the secondary, on the DR standpoint, have another database and application node on the on another availability domain, and have your passive or active data guard running in the other on the secondary area. Okay, hope it's clear for you, or if in case of any questions, you can post it. Now, coming to how can you design your cloud infrastructure, right? So what are the areas that I should focus on as an architect? What are the areas I should focus on? The mentioned areas are the key areas where You should focus on your security and access, how you're going to allow your access to your end users, to your admins, to your team. Uh, is there any external access, external network to be given? How we are going to secure it? Okay. Second thing is that the network, both are interlinked. The security and as well as network are both are interlinked. You should give importance to both security as well as network when you're designing the the connectivity or any access standpoint. The next comes is your server or compute, like how much of memory that you should give. Should I go for a secondary VNIC? You should definitely plan for a secondary VNIC, and like how much of space I need it for my database, how much of capacity is needed, how many users will be connecting. So whether the server is good enough, that is something that you will be focusing on the servers or compute. Now coming to the database, um, you should focus on your database availability as well as from your performance standpoint. Okay, whether the database should be in rack, or is it something that you can do it as a active passive, or with respect to the load balancer, like how many nodes I should need. Those stuff you should plan with respect to your database. Performance angle, you should give importance to your storage, whether the storage is good enough to handle my database performance. You should give that importance. And memory standpoint, the compute will take care. Now coming to the applications, again, like how many users are going to access, what will be the peak period, and whether my applications compatibility being met with respect to servers, how many nodes I should have, what is a load balancer configuration is going to be, and for the database and applications, what kind of high availability I should have based on my goals. So these needs to be looked at when you design your cloud infrastructure. Okay. Now coming to the audit. So each and every layer has an audit. Now compute has an compute level you should audit. Who has an access? Whether is there any malfunctioning? Is there anybody is connecting without any approval? Those audit needs to be there. Audit needs to be there for the database and applications. Like you may need to enable the fine grained auditing. Reason is like, since it's though it's been controlled, the network has been controlled, is there any gap by any chance somebody is logging into your database and then performing any changes? Those needs to be audited. Now let's say if it is a plain vanilla instance, like you have your EBS up and running, and there is no much of integrations is needed, then you don't need to focus on the integrations. But generally, in normal business practice, most of the customers are using a lot of integrations. For example, there will be an integrations with the bank. There will be integrations with their suppliers. And quite if there is any third party tools are there which needs some printing or something, that they will use of the integration services. So in order to secure yourself with respect to the OCI, it's highly recommended to better to use OIC, Oracle Integration Cloud Services, because there are a lot of secured options that is there which you can take advantage of. So coming back here, with respect to integrations, when you're designing it, you have to give importance to your integrations as well. Okay. Now the next comes is your storage. So it depends upon your database and application requirement, like how much of space you need for your database, how much of space you need for applications, whether it has to be in FSS, is it how much level of performance does it need? So you need to give importance to that. Okay. And then next is the backup and DR. So whether some customers, what they do is like they take backup in their disk. We highly recommend you to try to take backups only in the object storage. If you're already following it, that's okay. If in case you're taking it in the block volume or something, always keep in mind that take advantage in take backup in object storage. I'll tell you why. Object storage, as we all know, it's regionally available. So if in case of any disaster, you will have your backup safe. So you can restore it any point, any time and anywhere. Now coming to the DR or BCP, business continuity process. Yeah, as I mentioned, during the validate phase, try to do your DR drill and as well as have your compute node designed or your database designed when you are in the initial stage. Know your goals, like what kind of availability you need when in case of any disaster. You should plan your contingencies during your defining the goal phase. Okay, I think I missed monitoring and automation. With respect to database, if you're taking a PaaS offering or if you're going with the ADP, there are Oracle by themselves, they provide a lot of services, monitoring tools, as well as in the OCI, Oracle provides the monitoring for the operating system as well as the services level access. So we highly recommend to take those advantages. And if you are getting hands-on with respect to your Terraform or Oracle CLI, you can automate your stuff with respect to your regular operations. Okay, those things should be considered when you design your cloud infrastructure. Okay. Now let's take a look at what are the options that you can take advantage in OCI. So if you are asking, like, this session is all about innovative and best design, why you are not talking about the design? Yes, we will be we have designs in between, but talking only about the design is not going to add any value. It is the motive. The motive is to share the design, at the same time also make you design by yourself, so that it is not just one design. There will be a lot of multiple options that you can explore when while working on OCI. Okay, so what are the options that you can take advantage, or it is recommended to take advantage when you move to OCI? Okay, one, with respect to security and access angle, it is always better to take advantage of IDCS. So if you are an ERP customer, if you are a e-business suite customer, so you have SSO authentication, single sign-on authentication, better to consider or recommended to consider the IDCS option, which will simplify your entire flow of authentication process. Okay, and in addition to that, customers can take advantage of your of Oracle IDCS Foundation, which is provided as a free of cost for SaaS and PaaS and as well as IaaS customers for the basic identity management functions. Okay, now with respect to IDCS, you can also take advantage by integrating with your Active Directory directly from the Azure cloud. So as we all know, Microsoft and Oracle has a partnership. There is an integration that dedicated connectivity that is there, which allows the customer to take the advantage of Active Directory integrations from Azure cloud. And you can also create a custom roles with respect to your based on your requirement. You can predefine, or you no need to go with the predefined roles. You can create your custom roles as well with respect to your security or access. Okay, just to be very clear, with respect to custom role in IDCS, you can create your custom role. That's what I mean. Okay. Now coming to the networking, as I already mentioned, the main thing that I want to highlight and give you a high recommendation is always try to see how you can take advantage of your secondary VNIC, and also try to see, even if it is a single node application, even if you're going for a single targeted node, always focus on using load balancer. The reason is very simple. Reason is you can control, you can restrict the port access at the load balancer level. You can, if it is something like needs to be exposed to the public, you can control it at the, excuse me, you can control it at the load balancer level itself. You don't need to, like, there is an additional level of security that will be there when you use load balancer. Okay. And when you are designing your infrastructure, ensure that you have enough range of IP addresses that is there for your VCM, so that there won't be any surprises in the future. And always know what is the security requirement with respect to your applications and database. Based on that, design your IP range. Okay. Always better to have separate IP for applications, separate IP for database, have connect your OS through your bastion. Those are all regular things that is needed, but it is good to highlight. So always have your OS authentication or OS access through your bastion post. Don't try to give any direct access to your applications or database servers. Take advantage of IP tables, control it, and then give allow the ports only to be accessed to your load balancer. And one thing that want to highlight is, if there is an end-to-end encryption possibility is there. So most customer, what they do is like they do the HTTPS at the load balancer level and HTTP at the application layer. SSL termination is being taken care at the application layer itself. But if there is a possibility, if you can do an end-to-end encryption, please try to do that. Okay, that will be a best practice, and also being secured on a long run. And when you are planning for a network, ensure that you have your network design or the AD design for the DR, and always have your AD, and as well always have your DR in a different AD or a different region. Okay, I think I missed to highlight here. So one thing is always, if possible, if there is a chance, if possible, try to see if you can deploy your DR in a Azure cloud or in a different, basically it's a different service provider. Okay, now coming to the compute options that you can take advantages of. One, auto scaling of compute. Before I go to the auto scaling, what functionality that you can take, keep in mind your licensing. Okay, how much of license, database or application license, if it is a process perpetual, how much of license that you have, whether that suits the setup, that you have to keep an eye on it. The main use case with respect to auto scaling is, see, there is a for all businesses there will be a seasonal what do you say, like seasonal load, right? During the month end, people will run a lot of reports. They will do a lot of data processing during the month ends, or during the Mother's Day or during the Christmas, there will be heavy load on the system. So keeping those in your mind, you can plan your auto scaling. Okay, so thanks to Oracle that they introduced this auto scaling at the compute level, which a lot of customers they can take advantage during the if there is an unforeseen load comes, they can take advantage of that. Okay, so coming to the fault domain, this is something that all the webinars of Oracle in the past, like a lot of Oracle engineers would have already been recommended. I'm also sharing the same thing with you. So fault domain, always take advantage of, even if it is a single node database, single node applications, keep your passive node in the other fault domain, just in case if there is any unforeseen situation for your active node, you will have it safe in your other fault domain. And try to use Oracle provided images, because there are a lot of Oracle built tools that have been given as part of the Oracle provided images itself. Now let's take a look at the design 2. Okay, so if I have a customer, or if my requirement says that I need a BI, I need a BI cloud services. At the same time, I don't want a direct load onto my OLTP system. Then what I can do is, I can have my database rack in a rack running in AD1, and then I can have an active applications or active applications in AD1 in a two different fault domain. Have my DR or active data got configured on the another active availability domain too. Okay, so as part of the BICS services, okay, Oracle provides the connectivity through the OTBI metadata, as well as it can sync the data through the data sync services, and it can go to your BI cloud services. From there, you can initiate your reporting. Okay. If you ask me, should I complicate this much? Yeah, there is a possibility of simplifying it as well. Okay, what you can do is you can add one more rack node and then use that third rack node only for your BICS. Like the BICS will connect to the third rack node, and then you can make use of it only if you have the rack license. If in case of any questions with respect to design or anything, any more clarifications needed, please feel free to post your questions. Yeah, and applications, yeah, I highlighted here, like it is better to use your active load balancer as well as passive, being configured with your passive node as well. Now coming to the database, what kind of options that you can take advantage of? Though for the package applications, it is always better to go with your DBCS or have your IS database running in IS. But for your non-EBS applications, for instance, if you are having a any interface applications or any third-party application, non-Oracle packaged applications where you just need a database, always focus on try to use autonomous database. Reason is it's auto scaling available, auto upgrade, backup and maintenance is made simple, and you can the cloning and restore process has also been simple with respect to autonomous. And also Oracle provides the performance hub to analyze your database through the service console itself. For the Oracle e-business, I just mentioned now, right? So for e-business suite or PeopleSoft, any Oracle package applications, I would say it is always try to use DBCS as an option instead of just migrating to your IS. If you can take advantage of DBCS, please do take. Because the patches are being available, or patching process being made simple with respect to DBCS. Backup process can be simplified, and the recovery process, of course, the backup and recovery has been simplified, and the DG process is made so simple with respect to DBCS. It's just a click of a button, you can configure your DG data card. Okay. I'm moving to the next one. So this particular information is being provided by Oracle itself in one of the webinars, where so we thought like it is good to share this information with respect to applications. Okay, if you are targeting to move your applications, if it is something that can be moved to SaaS, try to see if you can move to SaaS. Okay. This is considering on a long-term roadmap. If it is an IS, it has to be an IS. Yes, it is like what all the recommendations that we are discussing. It is good to go for through this flow. Now, if it is an IS, if you are using Oracle e-business suite, always try to use Oracle Cloud Manager, Oracle e-business Cloud Manager. There are very good, and a lot of investment have been done by Oracle. A lot of new features had been brought in by Oracle with respect to the Cloud Manager. Like let it be provisioning, let it be cloning, let it be backup and management, disaster recovery. All those stuffs, you can manage it through a single console via e-business Cloud Manager. Okay. We have another 5 minutes. I'll try to see if I can make it on time. Storage standpoint, always focus on using the elastic performance storage. Reason is like based on your performance requirement, it can be managed. There are three elastic performance are there: balanced, high performance, and low cost. Based on your requirement, you can take advantage of the block volume functionalities. The and even if it is a single node or if it is a some multi-node, try to see if you can take advantage of FSS, file system storage. Okay. Right. So just okay. We'll take a look at the design tree. All right. So let's say I have a customer and there are a lot of integrations in place where I have BACS as well as I have a third-party integrations in place. Okay. So how I can take advantage of autonomous database and how it can be connected. Okay. So same like the previous design, you can have your rack in your AD1 and have your DR or active DG on your another AD. Have the Golden Gate agent installed in your DB system and as well as configured with your Golden Gate cloud services, which can replicate to your ADW. Okay. Now, through the autonomous database, you can connect to the BACS as well as it can be like the data can be extracted, put it into the object bucket, and that can be interfaced with your third-party systems via data integration services. Okay. Now, if you want to simplify this process, again, same like before, you can have your DB system or third node rack and then connect it, integrate it to your ADW through GCCS and have your analytical cloud or BICS connected to the ADW and then have your integrations go through the object bucket via data integration services. Okay. Now, what are the other options? I'll quickly go through the other options. Backup, as I mentioned, better to use object storage. Try to see if you can automate your snap backups with respect to block volumes. Always better to use user-defined backup policy based on your requirement. Okay. Data safe, try to see wherever applicable. It is always good to use in the OCI. If you are using non-prod environment, always try to see if you can do take advantage of maskings and masking your sensitive data. Okay. Now, multi-cloud, right? So now the main reason of multi-cloud being has been booming with respect to customers is like a lot of customers now saying like, I want multiple functions, I want a lot of functionalities, but I don't want it with single console or a single vendor. I may need it AWS may be good in some areas, Azure is good in the microservices. I want to take advantages of it. Okay, then always open to see if there is a possibility to use multi-cloud for such requirements. Okay, see for instance, if you have Oracle e-business suite applications, you can have your database running in OCI and you can have your application tier running in Azure. Okay, or you can have your DR applications running in Azure. That's possibility. Now let's say this. Okay, so let's say that is a third-party system that is there where I have applications that is compatible with the Microsoft services. Then I can have my applications running on Azure, and then I have my database connected configured in OCI. Okay. I think other options are similar, like you can take advantage of SQL Server. You can have your SQL Server running in Azure and then Analytics Cloud or data science running in OCI. So such advantage you can take between using the multi-cloud. Okay, as I just explained now, this multi-cloud, the design 4 is all about multi-cloud, where I can have my standby. I can have my rack configured in the OCI. Okay, and then I can integrate it with Azure. and I can have my active applications or passive applications in my Azure, and then through the standby applications, I can connect it to my microservices. Okay, which I can also use for analytical purpose or anything that I would like. Okay, so the difference between the design 4 and the design 5. Okay, so if you see this one, the active applications in the Azure, where I have my database running in Oracle Cloud Infrastructure, and then the active applications in Azure. Okay, that's kind of a cross BCP. With respect to design 5, I have my active applications and the database running in OCI, and I have my DR in Azure, and then standby applications in Azure, and the standby will be configured with Active Data Guard, and it can use the analytical cloud services, and then do the reporting. Okay, so I think it's 1 minute. Okay, that's great. So if in case of any questions, please feel free. I can address those.
It's all good. Let me check now. I cannot see any questions in the Q&A. Yeah, let me check and I'll see questions in the Q&A. Also, no questions in the chat. That means all good. And during the replays, if anyone has any question, please post them in the replay page, the dedicated page for this session. And the speaker in this case will receive a notification and he will be able to respond to your questions or comments at his convenience. This replay will be available for 2 weeks from now in the conference webpage. Saying that, Narasimharao, thank you so much for your amazing session and for sharing your knowledge with the community.
And thanks a lot for having me as well. And you can reach us in Facebook, LinkedIn, and Twitter. And I have my LinkedIn link also posted in this slides. Right. Thanks a lot for having me, and thanks a lot. Stay safe.
Thanks so much, everyone, and be safe and look after yourself and your family. Thank you so much. Bye-bye.